happens when you're live, right? That's a great opener. Didn't that capture y'all's attention? Yes, it did. Hey, how many of y'all just love a hero story? I love superhero stories. I love the idea of a hero, even though half of you didn't dress up as one, that's okay. I decided to show you one of my favorite superheroes. But when I was your age in middle school, there was another hero in my life that I want to tell you about tonight. He captured my attention 6th or 7th grade, I believe. So 6th or 7th grade. And his name was, I have a picture. His name was Sir Charles Barkley. Some of you guys may know him because he's a commentator now. All right. But Sir Charles Barkley was my hero. Okay. Yeah, I played basketball. That's what I'm talking about. All right. So he was my hero. Okay. So he played for the Sixers and the Suns, then the Rockets. And so I had his shirts, I had his shoes. I think we have another picture, should be coming up. I had his shoes, I had his poster right there above my bed. I mean, I was obsessed. His nickname was the Round Mound of Rebounds. I wanted to rebound like him, even though I was super short and I didn't play post, but I still wanted to rebound like him. He was my hero, y'all, so much so that back when email addresses first came out, by the way, I remember that I'm aging myself right now. My email address was Barkley, and it still is Barkley33. And then the ultimate was that I named my dog after him. So, I feel like if you name a pet after somebody, he's your hero. And Charles was my hero. And I bet for some of you that if I brought you on stage and I asked you who your hero was, you might tell somewhat of a similar story. Maybe not as weird or so much so as mine, but that's okay. We all have those people in our lives. And that's what I was learning as I thought through this idea of hero. I had this thought, and that is that we all have the same desire. We all have the desire for a hero, but we don't always define them the same way. So we have that desire to have a hero, but we might not always define them the same way. So I'll give you an example. Okay, so this past week I looked up online like the top 5 trending celebrities, and in this world, many of them may say are their heroes, okay? And these were the images of the pictures that came up. You know most of them. You've got the Kardashians, you've got Khloe. I know y'all are freaking out right now. You've got Khloe, you've got Selena, Vanessa, Justin, and of course you've got Bruce/Caitlyn. All right, hey guys. I love that you like these people. You've just made my point though. So many people, to them, that's their hero. They're their heroes. They want to be like them. But then, as I was looking through this week, I found another area of heroes. I found another group of heroes that have definitely a different definition, that are different from these that you see right here. And I actually have a short video that I want you to see, and I want you to hear about another group of heroes, actually. So check out this video.
I'm Anderson Cooper. All year, we've been introducing you to some truly remarkable individuals. We call them CNN heroes, everyday people changing the world. Well, now it's time to announce the top 10 CNN heroes for 2015. In random order, here they are. Bhagwati Agrawal is fighting the water crisis in his homeland. His nonprofit created a rainwater harvesting system that now provides water to 6 villages, more than 10,000 people in India's driest region.
Safety net, anybody home?
From Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, Dr. Jim Withers. For more than 20 years, he's taken medicine to the streets, bringing free quality health care to the city's homeless. Monique Poole. In 2005, she turned her home into a sanctuary for sloths in the South American country of Suriname.
Hello.
She's since rescued, rehabilitated, and released hundreds of these mammals and other animals back to the wild. Richard Joyner has led his rural community of Canita, North Carolina, to better health by helping young people grow and distribute 50,000 pounds of fresh food each year. Maggie Doyne. After graduating from high school, she traveled the world, and a visit to war-torn Nepal changed her life. Today, she helps provide a home for about 50 children in Nepal, and a school for hundreds more. From Charlottesville, Virginia, Sean Gobin. After serving in Iraq and Afghanistan, this U.S. Marine found healing when he hiked the Appalachian Trail. Now he supports other combat veterans as they walk off the war.
You're ready and you're willing, because you wouldn't have came here if you wasn't.
Kim Carter cycled in and out of incarceration and homelessness. Then she decided it was time for a change. Today, she's helping hundreds of women in similar circumstances reclaim their lives. Rochelle Ripley, determined to keep a promise she made to her Native American grandmother. Her nonprofit has delivered an estimated $9 million in aid to the Lakota people in South Dakota. Jody Farley Behrens lost her close friend, single mother of 4, to cancer.
Good morning.
Since 2006, she and her nonprofit have provided assistance to hundreds of single moms who are battling the disease. And in Chicago, Daniel Ivankovich is a surgeon who treats first and bills later.
This is pretty darn good.
Since 2010, his nonprofit has provided care to more than 100,000 uninsured or underinsured patients in Chicago's troubled neighborhoods.
Quite a different group of heroes, right? Again, because we all have the desire for a hero, but we don't always define them the same way. I mean, over here we have our top 5 Twitter trend celebrities, and then over here we have our CNN top heroes of doctors, humanitarians, and pastors. So then that's the question. I want to throw another kind of kink in the chain, so to speak, and that's, as a follower of Christ, who do you follow? What's a hero? How do you define a hero when the world says this and you see this group right here, but as a Christian, does God have anything to say about how we define a hero? Does God define a hero? Does God have something to say about who we follow and who we want to look up to in our lives? And you know what? He does. And I love that he does, because he wants you to know, because he wants you to have people in your life that are going to lead you in the right way. And so tonight, we're going to look at this one guy. We're going to look at this character in the Old Testament. And his name is actually Nehemiah, okay? And it's really cool because I've never actually taught on this guy, Nehemiah. How many of you ever heard of him before? How many of you? Okay, half of you. But then the other half of you are probably like, I've never heard of this guy. Who? You know, I have no idea. So I don't want you to freak out or worry on me, because I thought about y'all just in case you didn't know about who this guy Nehemiah was. So what I want you to do, I found this 4-minute story that's going to really lay out for you who Nehemiah was and what the book of Nehemiah is about, because we're going to talk about his life tonight, and we're going to see three major characteristics of why Nehemiah was a hero and why that has anything to do with you. So sit back and watch the story of Nehemiah.
The day I found out that the walls in Jerusalem, my hometown, had been destroyed, I wept. Why? I asked God. My people tried to be good people. We made some mistakes, left God out of the equation sometimes, but surely we didn't deserve such destruction. I still don't understand it, to be honest, but one thing I felt certain of, I needed to help rebuild. It was as if it was my God-ordained mission, and I couldn't ignore the calling.
Fortunately, Nehemiah was working for the king at the time, and the king trusted him. Nehemiah returned to Jerusalem with the king's blessing, as well as building materials for his massive construction project.
Gather round, everyone. I don't think I have to tell any of you how bad things are. You all have eyes, you can see the destruction. And while this probably sounds crazy, I'm here to help with rebuilding. God has called me to this task, but really, he's called all of us to it.
Inspired by Nehemiah's faith, the people were willing to help, and they all set to work. Not everyone, however, was encouraged by Nehemiah's devotion. 3 punks from rival communities were less than pleased with Nehemiah's plans.
Who does this
this Weasley Nehemiah think he is, swooping in to save the day? Does he honestly think he can bring these knuckleheads together to rebuild this massive wall?
God-ordained mission my foot. Someone has a serious hero complex going on.
Look, I don't care about his alleged divine mission. All I know is we gotta put a stop to it.
As the people of Jerusalem worked to rebuild the wall, Sanballat, Tobiah, and Geshem began plotting their demise. First, they tried intimidating the Jews.
You call that a wall?
If that's the wall your God has inspired, well, I've got some questions about your God.
Nehemiah, your wall is so weak, it'll crumble the first time someone sneezes.
But Nehemiah and the Jews were unimpressed. They continued building, which only enraged the punks further.
Okay. So mockery didn't work. What's next?
We gotta attack.
When they least expect it, we'll surround them with our armies. They'll be so surprised they won't know what to do. The wall will be back in ruins in no time.
These threats were a bit more effective. The people were getting nervous.
Nehemiah, we're doing everything we can here, but the enemies are closing in.
I'm starting to think this was a bad idea.
Pretty sure I agree to build a wall, not get attacked by a bunch of bullies.
But Nehemiah, who had been praying all along, continued to trust God.
Look, I know this is scary,
You think?
but we've come this far. We can't give up now. God hasn't given up on us. I'm sure of it. Trust my prayers. Trust your prayers. Our faith and love is greater than the threats of our enemies.
I want to believe the guy, but...
Shh! Listen!
Here's what we're going to do. Each day, I want half of the crew to build while the other half stands guard. And even when you're building, keep one hand on your tools and keep your sword in your other hand. The trumpet is the warning. If it sounds, stop building and join the fight.
But even the Jews' preparedness didn't stop the three punks from cooking up yet another scheme. They've sent Nehemiah a note.
Nehemiah, old pal, we got off on the wrong foot. Let's start over. Meet us a no-no?
Nehemiah didn't buy it. His response was simple.
Nope. Working on awesome wall. No time. Sorry.
When their outright attacks failed, they went for trickery. This time, they sent an anonymous note to Nehemiah.
Yo, Maya, someone told me that you and the other Jews are rebuilding the wall and plan to rebel. Something about you wanting to be king? The Persian king is so not going to be down with that. Let's chat.
But Nehemiah, still praying diligently, was once again onto their plot. He responded,
LOL. No way.
While there were more plots, Nehemiah saw through every one. His faithful prayers protected him, the project, and his people.
We did it! Our God is great!
In spite of the threats, the opposition, and the magnitude of the project, the wall was completed, and thousands of exiled Jews returned to Jerusalem.
Oh, you gotta love a good cartoon, right? I gotta love it. All right, here's what I want you to do. We're gonna look at 3 things about Nehemiah that actually were mentioned in that video and in the story of Nehemiah. So if you have your Bible, if you have your tablet or whatever, I want you to click/turn to the book of Nehemiah, chapter 1, and I also have the verses on the screen. Because the first quality that we see in Nehemiah, what makes him a hero, is that Nehemiah paid attention. Nehemiah paid attention, and we see that in verses 2 through 3. It says this, Hananiah, one of my brothers, came to visit me with some other men who had just arrived from Judah. I asked them about what the Jews who had returned there from captivity and about who returned to the province of Judah. They are in great trouble and disgrace. The wall of Jerusalem has been torn down, and the gates have been destroyed by fire. Nehemiah paid attention to what was going on inside of his heart. He heard about the trouble of his family. He heard about the things that were going on to his people of Jerusalem, and he paid attention, and he inquired about them. And notice that burden that was in his heart, that calling that was in his heart, was about someone else. A hero is always concerned about someone else first. Nehemiah paid attention to the burden. Nehemiah paid attention to the mission. The video mentioned that it was his calling. Almost it was his mission. And Nehemiah paid attention to it. He didn't just ignore it. He didn't just set it aside. Because here's what you need to know about a hero. When everyone else steps out, a hero steps in. When everyone else is asking, hey, what's in it for me? A hero asks, hey, how can I help? That's what Nehemiah did for his people. He didn't have to. He didn't have to go try to build his wall. He didn't have to go try to help the people in Jerusalem. Notice no one made him. He paid attention to something that God was doing in his life. He paid attention. That's the first thing that you need to know about Nehemiah. That's the first quality of a hero, is that a hero always pays attention. The second thing that we see in the life of Nehemiah is that Nehemiah prayed. Now, let's be honest. This is not going to make the top 10 qualifications of most heroes' list. But I love, love, love that we find it and we see it in Nehemiah. Read up on the screen with me at verses 4 through 6. Nehemiah says, when I heard this, when he heard about what he had asked about, what he had paid attention to, when he heard that his people were being, were having injustice done to them, okay? When he heard about this, I sat down and wept. In fact, for days I mourned, fasted, and prayed to the God of heaven. Then I said, O Lord God of heaven, the great and awesome God who keeps his covenant of unfailing love with those who love him and obey his commands, listen to my prayer. Look down and see me praying night and day for your people, Israel. Why in the world would the first thing he do was to turn to God about his burden? Would be to turn to God about his mission or his calling. Because let's just be honest for a second. If you and I heard about some sort of injustice, let's just say, being done to a member of your family, your sibling, your aunt, I don't know, your parent, a grandparent, somebody that you loved, somebody that was in your inner circle, and you heard and found out that there was injustice being done. Hey guys in the back, I'm going to need for you to get off your phones for a second and make sure that you're paying attention up here. And you heard that there was some sort of injustice being done. The first thing that you and I would do, probably, is you're going to want to react. You're going to want to step in the situation. You're going to go, what do I have to do? Who do we have to get? Come on, let's go take them out right now. Somebody's doing your friend wrong. Come on, girls. Y'all want to get your little girl posse going on? Come on, we're going to go take them now, you know. You're going to go say something to them. I guarantee you're not going to be like, let's pray right now. Okay? That's what we should do, right? That's what we should do. That's what Nehemiah did. Many times that's what we don't. But a hero who follows Christ, let's say that, a hero goes to God first. Because Nehemiah knew this secret that you and I sometimes, we forget. Even us adults, we forget this. And it's this, is that if God is the one that put the burden on your heart, if God is the one that stirred your heart and opened your eyes to that calling, that mission, that burden, then God is the only one who can give you what you need to fulfill it. And Nehemiah knew that. Nehemiah knew that he couldn't do it in his own strength. Nehemiah knew that he didn't have enough intellectual capacity right then. He knew that God was the one that he needed to immediately turn to so he didn't screw things up. Because you and I, we can screw things up if we don't let God into the picture. So a hero pays attention. Focus up here, guys. It's okay. It's all good. I've been coughing for the last 2 days. A hero pays attention, and a hero prays and goes to God first. But then the third and final thing that we see in the life of Nehemiah is that Nehemiah persists. Okay, Nehemiah persisted. Now, you saw that in the video. You saw these three, they called them these three dudes or whatever. Okay, you saw these three guys come into the picture and start giving Nehemiah a hard time. And we see that in chapters 2, verses 10 and 19. You can read that as I'm reading it aloud. But it says this, it says, but when Sanballat, that was his name, actually, And Tobiah, the Ammonite official, heard of my arrival. They were very displeased that someone had come to help the people of Israel. So you already have somebody upset that he's wanting to go and obey God. Has somebody ever been upset at you for wanting to obey God? Think about that. You don't have to answer out loud. But sometimes you don't always have somebody cheering you on. Sometimes there's going to be enemies. Sometimes there's going to be people that try to get in the way. That's what was going on with Nehemiah. And then in verse 19 it says, but when Sanballat, Tobiah, and Geshem the Arab heard of our plan, they scoffed contemptuously. What are you doing? Are you rebelling against the king, they asked? So they're making it even harder. They're making it even harder for Nehemiah to step into the mission that God has for them. Here's the thing. In order to have persistence, there's got to be resistance. In order for you to persevere, there's got to be something pushing in against you. There's got to be resistance. And as I was thinking about just this idea of persevering in the face of resistance, I couldn't help but think about this video clip that I found on YouTube. If you'll roll that for me. There we go. They're like, that's some tough wind right there, guys. That is knocking them down. And you push through. And sometimes, all right, it wasn't that funny, but it was good. All right. Sometimes, guys, you got to keep going. You got to keep walking. You got to take one step at a time, even though you've got resistance pressing in on you, and you may take 2 steps back, but you got to take 1 step forward. And that's what Nehemiah did. That's what a hero does. There's this famous quote by this guy named Christopher Reeve, who was one of the supermen, and he says this. He says, a hero is an ordinary individual who finds the strength to persevere or persist and endure in spite of overwhelming obstacles. And that fits the life of Nehemiah. That fits what's going on right now. Because Nehemiah, just imagine this. This wasn't just private. He has these friends stepping into his life, or supposed friends. And he's being taunted. He's being mocked. He's being lied to. He's being manipulated. And it's all public. It's not private. Everybody knows what's going on. And how easy would it have been for Nehemiah to just say, you know what, I'm done. I'm done with this. I don't have time. I don't care. That probably would be what you and I might be doing. But he didn't. He stuck with it. And that's what a hero does. A hero persists. So that's what Nehemiah did. And by God's strength, Nehemiah persisted in the face of resistance. And he ended up completing the mission. He ended up completing the burden. He ended up completing what was on his heart, what he paid attention to, that God opened his eyes to, that would affect other people. Because that's always the point. Because a hero pays attention to his burdens for other people. I think we should have a PowerPoint on that. A hero prays. A hero goes to God about it. And then a hero always persists. He doesn't quit just because it's hard. And as I end, I want to mention, you know what I see about these qualities? You know what I see in those? Is that those, let's go back to those, please. There you go. I see that those are qualities that anybody can do. I see that those are qualities that you can do. You can pay attention to what's going on around you. You can pay attention to that God-given burden. It'll require a sacrifice. It'll require cost. A hero always has to cost. It's going to be a cost if it's going to be worth it. But you can pay attention. You can pray. You can go to God about it. You don't have to be special to do that. You can persist. You can keep going when it feels like you can't, in whatever mission you feel like God has you on. You know what that tells me? As cliche as it sounds, you can be somebody's hero. You probably are somebody's hero. You may just not know it. Someone younger than you, maybe a sibling. They may not tell you. I have 2 younger sisters. I don't know that I ever heard them tell me that. But you could be. We could be somebody else's hero. And that's what God puts us here for. God put you here for someone else, not just for yourself, because that's what a hero knows. This next slide. Everybody has the capacity to be a hero, but not everyone has the desire to do what it takes. Did you hear that, or are you focused on who's going out the door? Thanks. Everybody has the capacity to be a hero, but not everybody has the desire to do what it takes. So what about you? I want to send you home tonight as Brando is going to give you an opportunity to respond. I need everybody to make sure I don't want everybody's cell phones away. This isn't a time to be talking. This is a serious time. But I want you to think about that in your life. I want you to go home tonight. I want you to ask yourself those questions. Are you paying attention to what God might be showing you? Are you paying attention to that burden, that mission, that calling? And maybe it's just to pay attention to the person that's sitting next to you at lunch. Are you opening your eyes, or are you so consumed with you and your life? Yeah, that's easy. I get it, but it's not an excuse. Are you paying attention? Are you going to God about things that are on your heart, or are you trying to do it in your own flesh? That's where I get in trouble sometimes. Are you persisting? Or have some of you quit on something maybe God wanted you to do 3 or 4 months ago, but it just got hard? And so you've quit. Tonight is a new opportunity. It's a new time for you to say, hey, God, you know what? I can do those things. And I'm willing to do what it takes. Because everybody has the capacity to be a hero. But not everybody has the desire or the willingness to do what it takes. So what I want you to do tonight is I want you to stand up. And we have some adults here tonight. They're going to make their way to the front. And again, I want this to be a serious time. This isn't a time to be laughing or joking or messing with the person next to you, okay? Because you know what I think? I think that we need to redefine this whole idea of hero. I think that we've seen enough of the top 5 celebrity trends. I think that we elevate them way too much. And so I want to give us an opportunity to be able to step into that tonight. I want you to be able to have an opportunity to commit or to pray to God and ask Him, hey, where am I in this? Where am I in those things? So as I pray, we have some of our adults down here. The altar's open. You can come down here and you can do business with God. Maybe He's stirring in your heart about something that I've said tonight.